The marketplace on station Kepler 442 hummed with the voices of 1,000 species. Merchant stalls lined the crystalline corridors, displaying wares from across the galaxy, bioluminescent fabrics from Andromeda, singing stones from the Pleiades, and memory crystals that held entire lifetimes within their facets. Commander Marcus Webb navigated through the crowd with practiced ease, his human frame drawing occasional curious glances from the alien shoppers. 3 years stationed on this remote outpost had taught him to ignore the stares. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, and curiosity was natural. He stopped at a vendor selling what appeared to be Earth-style coffee, or at least the closest approximation the Zenthari could manage. As he waited for his order, a frail hand touched his arm. Marcus turned to find an elderly Thessian woman standing beside him. Her species was one of the oldest in the galaxy, their civilization spanning back 40,000 years before humans had even discovered fire. Her skin had the characteristic lavender hue of her people, now faded with age to a pale lilac. Her eyes, however, those ancient knowing eyes, remained sharp as diamonds. "Forgive the intrusion, young one," she said, her voice carrying the melodic quality all Thessians possessed. "But that ring on your finger, may I ask where you acquired it?" Marcus glanced down at his left hand. The simple gold band caught the station's artificial light, its surface worn smooth from years of wear. A small smile touched his lips. "This?" He held up his hand. "It's a wedding ring. My wife gave it to me." The Thessian woman's expression shifted through several emotions Marcus couldn't quite identify. Her 3-fingered hand trembled slightly as she gestured to a nearby bench. "Please," she said. "Might we sit? I am called Velshara, and I have a story to tell you, one that concerns that ring." Intrigued, Marcus nodded and helped the elderly alien to the bench. She moved slowly, each step deliberate, and he noticed other Thessians in the marketplace turning to look at her with what appeared to be profound respect. Once seated, Velshara gazed at his ring with an expression Marcus finally recognized. Profound sadness mixed with something like hope. 1,500 years ago, she began, my people faced our darkest hour. A plague swept through our worlds, a biological weapon unleashed by a species we had defeated in war. They had their revenge. We watched helplessly as billions died. Our greatest scientists could find no cure. Our civilization, which had stood for 40 millennia, was on the brink of extinction. Marcus listened, his coffee forgotten in his hand. In our desperation, we sent out a call across the galaxy, a plea for help to any species with the knowledge to save us. Most ignored us. Some came but failed. We had perhaps a decade left before we would be nothing but ruins and memories. Her voice cracked slightly. Then we detected a signal from a small blue world in an unremarkable arm of the galaxy. A species we had never heard of. A species that called themselves human. Marcus felt his breath catch. "You came," Velshara continued, her eyes glistening. "Despite having barely achieved faster-than-light travel, despite being warned by other species that our plague might spread to you, despite having nothing to gain and everything to lose, you came." She reached out and gently touched the ring on his finger. "Your scientists worked alongside ours. For 3 years, they labored without rest. 7 of your people died during the research, infected while trying to save strangers from a distant star. But they succeeded. They cracked the code of the plague and synthesized a cure. They saved my people. They saved my children. They saved me." Marcus felt his throat tighten. He'd heard fragments of this story during his xenohistory briefings, but never from someone who had lived through it. "In gratitude," Velshara said, "we offered your people anything they desired: technology, wealth, worlds. Do you know what they asked for?" Marcus shook his head. "Nothing." A tear rolled down her lavender cheek. "They said that helping others in need required no reward. But your leaders did request one thing. They asked that we share our knowledge freely with all species who needed it, to ensure that no other civilization would face extinction alone." She smiled then, genuine and warm. That agreement became the foundation of the galactic community's mutual aid protocols. It is why 73 species are still alive today. It is why the galaxy is different than it was. Because humans showed us that intelligence without compassion is worthless, and that the measure of a civilization is not what it builds, but who it saves. Velshara gestured to his ring. "Your wedding bands are made of gold, yes? Inert, incorruptible, eternal. When we asked why humans chose this metal for their most sacred promises, We were told it represents bonds that do not tarnish or break. She looked into his eyes. That is what your people gave us, an incorruptible promise. You could have left us to die. You could have taken our technology and vanished. Instead, you taught the galaxy what it means to be truly civilized. Marcus blinked back unexpected tears. He thought of his wife, Sarah, waiting for him back on Earth. He thought of the ring she'd placed on his finger 5 years ago, promising to stand by him through everything. He'd never known that same promise, that same commitment to bonds that don't break, had once saved billions of lives. Thank you for telling me this, he managed to say. Velshara stood slowly, placing both hands over her heart in a Thessian gesture of deepest respect. No, Commander Webb, thank you. Thank all of humanity. We are here because you taught us that the greatest strength in the universe is not the ability to destroy, but the courage to save. She smiled gently. Never forget that. Especially when the galaxy makes you feel small or young or inadequate. You are none of those things. You are the species that saved the Thessians, and in doing so, saved the soul of the galaxy itself. As she walked away, disappearing into the crowd, Marcus looked down at his ring again. It was just gold, simple, ordinary gold. But it represented something extraordinary. The same unbreakable commitment that had once defined humanity's first real act on the galactic stage. He pulled out his communicator and sent a message to Sarah. I love you, and I'm proud to wear this ring. I'll tell you why when I get home. In the vast marketplace of alien wonders, surrounded by the achievements of species millions of years older than his own, Marcus Webb smiled, because he finally understood that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't technology or conquest. It was choosing compassion when it would have been easier to walk away.